if you think about one of the main functions or components of an ego, it's adhering to a script or storyline that exists within your own mind. You have a projection of the future, and you will do whatever you can to make sure that it adheres to your plans. I have a friend who has a quote: "Man plans, God laughs." So, whatever the script may be, whatever you think you may be doing tomorrow, that may not be the case. No matter how tightly constructed and planned you might be, you also cannot account for what your actual experience at such time will be. Let's say it's going to be, I go to work tomorrow and XYZ, I'll be at my computer. You don't know what emails you're going to get. You don't know how you're going to feel and react as you go through them. And it essentially ends up being that there is a larger plan. There's whatever you think is going to happen is not going to reflect what the actual reality is, even if you can plan it perfectly, because your experience of reality will be different than anything your mind can conceive of when it's thinking about the future. Thinking and experience are two completely different things. And that's one of the main bases of spirituality, which is understanding that your thoughts about reality and your thoughts about your own life are not necessarily, and your thoughts about yourself are not necessarily reflective of anything but the thoughts themselves. And the best manners of living often come through dropping the script and operating spontaneously. Scripts are protective. Scripts provide a sense of structure, a sense of stability, and a sense of being in the known. And that can be very necessary to the cultivation of good products. Like in a movie, for example, they go by a script, and that script was intelligently crafted by the writers and executed by the director and the producers and all the people, actors, and so forth. But some real moments of magic come when the actor goes a little bit off the script. So, for example, in The Empire Strikes Back, the second Star Wars movie, Han Solo is being put into carbon freeze by Darth Vader. And right before he goes down into this chamber where he's about to get frozen, after a movie and a half, Princess Leia says, "I love you." And Solo responds, "I know." And then he gets frozen. The line in the script is the regular, corny, "I love you too." Harrison Ford gave that line on instinct, and it turned out to be much better than what the script had in mind. So, with respect to understanding this in a spiritual sense, where can we find those moments of magic? Where can we create those moments of magic? Where can we source this magic from and then use it to live out our lives? Well, it comes from dropping the script. I was in Toastmasters, and I used to give a lot of speeches. And there's one fellow, older fellow in the club, who kept telling me, "Stop taking notes up. Drop," and essentially saying, "Drop the script. You don't need them. You don't need them. You don't need them." He really encouraged me. And it took me a long time to actually drop the script. I still don't think I speak extemporaneously. I mean, I am right now, but I need to drop the script more and more. That's necessary for my further cultivation, my further unprotected journey through the universe. And if you think about it in a consciousness and spiritual sense, one of the underlying premises, which could sound crazy but is true, is that consciousness, which is you, is also everything. And from the standpoint of an individuated ego, that sounds preposterous. There's me and then there's that, says the ego. I'm separate from that, and things are not working in unison. I'm apart from everything, and I need to, for my own self, X, Y, and Z. And there's a certain amount of truth in that, in the sense that you do inhabit a distinct identity. You do live in a particular body. You are experiencing that life, which is drastically different than the chair that you're sitting on, drastically different than my life and everybody else's life. You're completely unique. That's entirely true. But who is there experiencing that uniqueness is the question. Who is, if you're a young girl or a young boy and now you're a man or a woman, what are you? You've changed. You change every minute of your life, every second, every microsecond. You can't, whatever the identity or person that you are living in is temporary. And that can be very existentially horrifying because you know that it's going to end. You're subconsciously aware of this at all times, and then the idea then becomes to maximize pleasure or something, and in a way that's not wrong, but the way to maximize pleasure is not to go about it in this hedonistic maximize sensation type of way. It's to understand that your consciousness. I mean, that gives you more. The word pleasure is not the right word. It makes you feel better, though. It gives you a bliss, a peace, and a deeper strength and power than any pleasure can do. And it actually is the way to maximize your enjoyment of life when you go about it the right way. But when you operate in a fearful standpoint, not an acceptance of what reality is, not an acceptance of your own mortality, because you think that it's lights out, existence is over when you die, it becomes very miserable. And also not just that, because when you die, if you don't exist, then it doesn't matter, right? But the idea that you'll lose things continually, you'll lose your loved ones, your body will decline. These are very sobering and unpleasant thoughts, and ones that are not talked about very much or exposed because they're very sensitive topics. But understanding who you are underneath the form identity, underneath the person, the underlying consciousness, is of vital importance to living a good life in which I don't want to say pleasure, but I'll say your pleasure or your true enjoyment, your satisfaction, your spiritual contentment, your real happiness is maximized. And again, that comes from dropping the script, because the ego is based upon it must be this way, it must be this way. And those are based in conditioning. This is not to say to throw out tradition or to throw out your most core values and so forth, but it is to say to be able to recognize what the driving forces behind a lot of neuroticism, the need to be right, justifications for having been a victim, justifications for whatever bad things you may do, dishonest things or things that are not correct, all of which are based to continually secure your further place within the script in your mind, to secure your place in the world. It's a matter of being aware of all of those things. This has nothing to do with the abolition of tradition, especially the good parts of tradition, which are very present, or the abolition of morality or whatever which you also may cling to. It's simply the abolition of what's there unnecessarily based in fear. So with that in mind, who are you when the script is dropped? Who are you when, you the politician, or you the mother, or you the father, or you the banker, or you the athlete, or you the student, or you the whoever you are, whatever your role in this world may be? Who are you when you're not that? When the person that you go into the world as every day, when you're not that? Or when the person who you present to yourself as being yourself all the time, who are you when you're not that? And there can be a lot of definitions and clarifications and qualifications, and those may be closer to the truth than the statement, I am a politician, or I am a this or that. But even still, those are partial, and those are subject to change. And those are not absolutely your deepest identity, because your deepest identity is unconditioned. And all the conditioned aspects of it get worn away with time. Worn away or transformed. Even the script in your mind is a conditioning. It's a conditioned projection. And that projection has nothing to do with the actual truth. Projections are wrong about gas prices, they're wrong about elections, they're wrong about the weather, they're wrong about the stock market. And this is what the deepest scientific polls, surveys, whatever, the best things we have technologically and in everything else, they're still wrong. Our own minds can't accurately assess who and what we are in the world. We can only have an idea of it, nor what's going to occur next within our lives. So our best bet is to be able to move with the flow, operate on instinct, and allow some moments, if not a lot, of magic to come into our lives.